Well, hello, my YouTube friends. We're going to look at some Supreme Court rulings today. There's a useful website called findlaw.com. Anyway, so what we're interested today is the class action lawsuit called IBP v. Alvarez. And what happened here is Alvarez, they wanted to get paid for the time they spent putting on safety gear in the locker room and then walking to the production floor. Apparently, they were only getting paid for time spent on the production floor. And this was case 03-1238 argued in October of 2005. Okay, so there's some federal law and some previous court cases that are relevant to this court case, and they talk about it in this opinion. So the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, and then shortly after that in Anderson v. Mount Clemens Pottery, the court ruled the term work week includes the time from when you clock in at the gate, walk to the building, and then pass through the building and get to the production floor. And so then Congress passed the Portal to Portal Act of 1947. And apparently there were some big businesses putting pressure on members of Congress, telling, hey, look, we're paying these dudes to walk all the way into the factory, walk into the building, get over to their workstation. That's a lot of time that we're paying these people. So in the Portal to Portal Act, Congress said, yeah, no, you don't got to pay for that. They can just get paid for time spent on the production floor or at their workstation. And so obviously there were some problems there. But there was another court case called Steiner v. Mitchell. And at that time, the court explained, this was 8 years after the Portal to Portal Act, so around 1955. The court explained the term principal activity or activities embraces all activities which are an integral and indispensable part of the principal activities, including the donning and doffing of specialized protective gear before or after regular work shift, on or off the production line. So in 1955, the court ruled, hey, you got to get paid for the time you spent putting on your gear, your safety gear. So in the early 2000s, I don't know how long it takes for a court case to reach the Supreme Court. This Alvarez and IBP is a poultry processing plant. So apparently the union wasn't getting paid to put their gear on and to take it off. And the Ninth Circuit said, yes, you have to do that. But right here in another case, the First Circuit Court of Appeal said, no, you ain't got to pay for that. And so this case, the Supreme Court used this case, 3-1238, IBP v. Alvarez, to consolidate the cases and clear things up. So the court held that the time spent walking between changing and production and putting your gear on and off, you have to get paid. Okay, and so that time is not excluded from the Fair Labor Standard Act scope. Okay, and then so there's more talk about it here and how they got to their opinion, and some of the arguments that IBP made. And so the ruling, written by John Paul Stevens, Justice Stevens. Okay, so in this case, they cleared it up. Okay, so now there's a little bit more right here. So what we're going to look at here, okay, Justice Stevens. Anyway, so he's talking about how they got to their opinion. So the consolidated cases, the one by ABP and the other one, I believe, is called barber. Okay, raise questions about when you should get paid. So there was two questions. The first question presented in both cases is whether time employees spend walking between the changing area and the production area is compensable under the Fair Labor Standards Act. There's a second question, though. The second question, which is only presented in the barber case, is whether the time employees spend waiting to put on the protective gear is compensable under the statute. So you're waiting in line to get issued your gear, so should you get paid for that? And the court consolidated and they said, actually, no. But once you get your gear, you have to get paid to put it on, and then you have to get paid to walk to the production floor. Okay, and so part of the how they got to that ruling is being explained. All right, sorry about that. I had to stop the recording for a minute. But continuing where we left off, as enacted in 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act, 29 United States Code, subsection 201, and the following pages et sequentia, required employees engaged in the production of goods for commerce to pay their employees a minimum wage of not less than 25 cents an hour. So in 1938, the federal minimum wage was right there, 25 cents. But most people, you didn't work 1 hour. You probably worked 10, 12-hour days. So, if it's a 12-hour day, there's $1, it's 50 cents, another 50 cents. So there you go. There's your pay for a 10-hour day. Well, minus taxes. You know how it is. So, be that as it may, let's continue reading. So, where are we at here? So, not less than 25 cents an hour. And there's your subsections. And prohibited the employment of any person for work weeks in excess of 40. Okay, so now the court's early cases define those terms broadly. In Tennessee versus Coal and Iron versus Muscota Local number 123, 321 U.S. 590 in 1944, the court held that time spent traveling from iron ore mine portals to underground working areas was compensable, and also relying on the remedial purposes of the statute and also relying on Webster's dictionary, the Supreme Court described work or employment as physical or mental exertion, whether burdensome or not. So your physical and your mental exertion, right there, controlled or required by the employer and pursued necessarily and primarily for the benefit of the employer and his business. With all here's your subsections, all that. The same year, Armour and Company versus Warnock, 32 U.S. 126 in 1944, clarified that exertion was not in fact necessary for an activity to constitute work under the Fair Labor Standards Act. The court pointed out that, quote, an employer, if he chooses, may hire a man to do nothing, or to do nothing but wait for something to happen. So when you're at work and you're just sitting there daydreaming and boss man walks by and says, hey, what are you doing? You say, hey, I'm working. Okay, because the Supreme Court has described work or employment as, quote, physical or mental exertion, whether burdensome or not. Okay, so why did I bring this up? This video is getting kind of long, and I will show you tomorrow why I brought this up. Okay, all right, so I'll see you in the morning. Okay, have a good evening.